When we talk about AI and the economy, it feels like that conversation always gets stuck on one single question. But what if it's the wrong one entirely? Today, we're diving into two really powerful new ways of thinking that completely reframe the debate. They push us to think less about what AI is going to do to us and more about what we're going to choose to do with AI. All right, let's get into it.
Right? This is the one. This is the question you hear everywhere. It's so simple, so direct, and it kind of frames AI as this force of nature, like a storm rolling in. All we can do is just sit back and watch and hope it doesn't cause too much damage.
But that's just a massive oversimplification. A couple of recent papers, one from Katya and Anton Korinek, and another from Pascal Stiefenhofer, they basically argue that this simple good or bad question, it totally misses the point. It turns us into passive observers of a future that is, in fact, being actively built, decision by decision, right now.
And that gets us to the heart of the matter. The impact AI has on our lives, on our jobs, on our society, it's not set in stone. It's the end result of thousands of choices being made every day by developers, by investors, by policymakers. So the real question isn't what will AI do? It's what kind of future are we deciding to build with it?
Okay, so let's start with the here and now. Before we get into the wild future stuff, we've got to get a really clear picture of the economic reality of AI today. So, for the longest time, the promise of technology was that a rising tide lifts all boats. We all know the saying. But here's the thing Klinova and Korinek point out. For about 40 years now, that just hasn't been true. Yeah, productivity has shot up, but all the financial gains have overwhelmingly gone to the very top, while wages for most people have just flatlined. Technology is not automatically making life better for everyone. And check this out, because this is where a fascinating double standard pops up. In the AI world, and rightly so, people say that problems like algorithmic bias or a lack of transparency are totally unacceptable. They are bugs that need to be fixed. But when you talk about the exact same technology causing huge job disruptions and skyrocketing inequality, well, suddenly that's just seen as, an unavoidable consequence of progress. So this brings us to the first really big idea in this whole story. We don't have to just accept this outcome. We can, and probably should, be actively steering AI development toward a future that benefits everyone.
The paper breaks this down into two ethical camps. The first is a kind of rules-based view. It says, hey, as long as my AI isn't breaking any laws, whatever happens to jobs isn't my problem. But the other view, a consequences-based one, argues that no, if your invention causes massive social harm, you absolutely have an ethical responsibility for that outcome.
And this quote right here, this is where they make a brilliant connection. Think about job displacement, like industrial pollution. For decades, factories could just pump smoke into the air, and society had to deal with the consequences. The authors are saying that building tech that destabilizes people's livelihoods is a kind of social pollution. It's a cost that the creators don't pay, but society does. And they don't just leave it at theory. They propose a practical framework. The idea is that before a company rolls out a new AI, they could use this to assess the total impact. Who's directly getting hired or fired? What does this do to your supply chain? What about your competitors? The whole point is to make these hidden social costs visible before all the damage is done. Okay, so that's the plan for steering the AI we have today. But now, we're going to take a huge leap forward. What happens when AI stops being just a tool and becomes a new form of capital itself? This is where the story gets way more radical. First, we need to be really clear on a term, artificial general intelligence, or AGI. Look, this is not just a smarter chat GPT. This is the hypothetical sci-fi stuff, an AI that can perform pretty much any mental task a human can. It becomes a true economic replacement for human labor. And this slide, right here, this is the crucial turning point. Pascal Stiefenhofer's paper argues we've been thinking about this all wrong. The AI we have today is a tool. It makes a human worker better, faster, more productive. But AGI? AGI is not a tool for the worker. AGI is a new kind of capital that makes the worker unnecessary. It's not a better shovel for the person digging. It's a tireless robot that owns the shovel and doesn't need a wage. And if you follow that logic all the way to its natural conclusion, well, you end up in a pretty shocking place. An economy where human labor has literally no market value. So let's just walk through the logic of this model. It starts with one big what if. What if an AGI could do your job, or my job, or any job? for basically just the cost of electricity. Okay, so if you're a company trying to make a profit, and you can choose between a human worker who needs a salary and benefits and time off, or an AGI that works 24/7 for almost nothing, what's the logical choice? It's not even a choice, really. And here it is, the stark result. In an economy where your value is tied to what you can produce, and a machine can produce everything you can for free, the market value of your labor, your wage, it just collapses. It heads straight towards zero. But wait a minute. This creates a massive system-breaking paradox. You've got these incredible AGI-powered factories that can produce an infinite amount of stuff more efficiently than ever. But you've got an entire population with no income to actually buy any of it. The engine of production is on overdrive, but the engine of consumption has completely ceased. And this potential collapse forces us to ask a really fundamental question. If a job is no longer the main way we distribute wealth and resources in society, then what is? So let's just pull these two big perspectives together now. For the AI of today, the immediate problem is that rising inequality, and the solution is to consciously steer its development. But for the AGI of tomorrow, the problem is far bigger, the complete obsolescence of human labor. And that requires nothing less than a total rewrite of our social contract. So what could that new social contract even look like? Stiefenhofer lays out some of the big ideas on the table. Things like a universal basic income, which would give everyone a share of all that wealth the AGI is creating. Or maybe models of public ownership so the AGI benefits all of society, not just a handful of tech billionaires. Or you could have massive taxes on AGI capital to fund new social programs. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? The change is coming one way or another. The only real choice we have is whether we design this new system on our own terms, thoughtfully, ahead of time, or if we just wait for the old system to completely break down and force us to deal with a crisis. And that brings us right back to where we started, but hopefully with a much deeper perspective. The future of AI and work isn't some movie we're just going to sit back and watch. It's going to be the direct result of the decisions we're making right now. The technology is just a mirror, and it's going to reflect the kind of society we choose to be. So, what do we want it to show?